Welcome to this guide to avoiding I and other personal pronouns in writing. To make the content of this video more accessible, click the closed caption button or adjust the playback speed. In this video, we will define academic tone and avoid forms of I, you, and we in academic writing. You may have received feedback that you should write more academically or use academic tone. But what does that mean? Different forms of writing use different tones. Academic writing is a formal voice, and it's a safe bet that it should be applied to most of your writing at SNHU. Avoiding personal pronouns, such as forms of I, you, and we, is part of academic tone. Let's start with avoiding I. Teachers have probably told you to avoid using it before. But why? What happens when a writer uses I? Simply put, I can weaken arguments, key points, and examples. Speaking of examples, here's one that illustrates the point. The example reads, I believe that layoffs are caused by poor management and shaky planning. This example starts with I believe, which is also known as a hedge. Hedges can make your writing sound uncertain or less direct. Losing the hedge creates a more direct statement. It now reads, layoffs are caused by poor management and shaky planning. The writer shows confidence in his or her statement. Here's an example which uses the writer's experience as proof. I've noticed at my workplace that poor communication from management is bad for business. Though the writer's experience is relevant to the topic, a scholarly source is always better for academic tone, so the I statement should be removed. Here's one way to use scholarly facts as evidence. A study done on 100 corporations found that poor communication from management affected productivity and led to layoffs. Here, the writer has paraphrased a scholarly source and cited that source. This is a stronger, more academically constructed way to present information. When in doubt, replace I with a relevant group, such as employees, managers, or administrators. Another common mistake is using the hypothetical you. In fact, it's so common, we have a whole other video about it. See the link on the end screen to this video. In an effort to persuade, a writer might pose a question like, how would you feel? But this isn't based in logic and should be avoided. And speaking of avoidance, the final forms to avoid are forms of we, our, and us. A writer might seek to connect with the reader by bringing I and you together in a universal truth, such as, we all know the feeling of losing a job. However, the same connection can be made through logic, and the writer should try to hook the reader with an academic tone. Again, when in doubt, you can always replace your we with group nouns that are relevant to your topic, such as politicians, teachers, or healthcare providers. You don't know for sure if your reader knows what it's like to lose a job, but from your research, you know that this statement is true. IT workers nationwide are experiencing record layoffs due to several avoidable factors. In this video, we have used academic tone, avoided I in academic writing, avoided you in academic writing, and avoided we in academic writing. For more academic support resources, read this video's description. Thank you for watching. We hope to work with you